Hey everyone, I am so happy to be here today chatting with you about the books that I read for the past 2 months. Let's talk about what I read in the months of May and June. Okay, well, I did not get a chance to film in June, so I did not do a May wrap up, and now it's July. So we're going to combine both of them rather than doing two separate videos. And I'm going to start with the books that I read in May. We'll go chronological order through June. And I had a really good reading month in May and also in June. So let's talk about it. First up, in May, I participated in the Middle Grade May Challenge as well as the Ever After Readathon. Both of those were hosted by different YouTubers, and I had a very good time. The team I was on for the Ever After-a-thon won, so yay. I didn't contribute as much as other people, but I did contribute. I did read, so that was exciting. I was part of each team had its own trope, and I was a part of the time traveler team, which was a lot of fun. The first book I read in May was Emily Henry's newest release, Great Big Beautiful Life. I really loved this book. At first, I gave it a 4.5 stars, and the more I thought about it and sat on it, I was like, you know what? I'm giving it 5 stars. Why am I holding back? I kept thinking about the book, and I really, really enjoyed it. This was a romance meets women's fiction. It is about two journalists who interview this kind of fallen away American heiress celebrity type figure. She's fictional. And they go to this small island town in Georgia, I believe, and spend the whole summer interviewing her, vying for who can write her memoir, like her tell-all memoir. And I did not see some of the twists and turns coming. And I really thought that Emily Henry wrapped it up really well at the end. I just love her writing, and she is solidifying as a favorite author of mine. There has been a lot of, I don't want to say negative feedback about this book, but people didn't like it as much because it's not like a true romance. But I think if you go into it knowing that it's not like, it is a true romance, but romance is not the only trope, or romance is not the only genre. Like, there is another story within the book besides just the main couple, and I personally loved it, so I would definitely recommend it. Obviously, I gave it 5 stars, so if that sounds like a book you would like, I would say go for it. Next up, I read Swept Away by Beth O'Leary. I gave this one 3 stars. This is a romance where they end up lost at sea, literally on a houseboat. This one was wild. It was definitely an adventure romance, which I typically don't do. Like, I don't read those types of romances. I didn't think it was going to be as adventurous as it was. And so that's why I gave it a 3 star. I did like it, and I think that if you are a fan of like Survivor or any of those types of shows, you would probably like it more than I did. I did like the romance. There was kind of a twist at the end, and it wrapped up a little too quickly for my personal taste, which also factored into my star rating, but I don't regret reading it. It wasn't a fave of mine. But some books are just like that. I think some books are just helpful to read, and then you can see what you like versus what you don't like. My middle grade May pick was Anne of Green Gables. I have never read Anne of Green Gables before May, and you guys, I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think part of me has a hard time rating classic literature because for me, I can tell when things are dated, and that just deters from the story for me. And the same thing happened when I read Little Women last year. I gave that one 4 stars. And so I did like Anne of Green Gables a little bit more. I just think there's some things that just don't quite come across as the best in like modern times, but I did love it. I did not expect a sad ending. So I was very distraught actually. And so part of me really wants to continue the series because I'm curious like how Anne grows up. Like Anne of Green Gables is about her coming to live at Green Gables, and you know, she's adopted and her adoptive parents think they're getting a boy, but they're getting a girl, and how she acclimates to her life there and how much she loves it. And she's such a strong, quirky character that was the reason that I liked it a lot more than Little Women, because Little Women, I love, okay, I grew up watching the 1994 version, movie version of Little Women, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I like the story of Little Women, but the book version, the book, like the actual, the original story of Little Women was just a little like too morals. Like it was too much of a moral lesson for me personally. I liked more just hearing about the characters in that book. And I think that's maybe why I like the movie, because the movie doesn't touch a ton on the morals. And I do think Anne of Green Gables has that like moral lesson in it, but I think that Anne had more personality than the Little Women did, because I don't think that Louisa May Alcott wrote them to be as robust as L.M. Montgomery wrote Anne. So that was personally why I rated Anne of Green Gables a little bit higher. But still both loved them both. They were different. So yeah, I am very curious about what happens to Anne. I think my friend recommended that I watch, what was it? The 1980s version, either a movie or a miniseries, based upon the books, saying that it was like the best one. So I might do that. I don't know if I'm going to read all of them, but actually let me go grab, because I see it right here. Hold on one second. I forgot that I had this copy. So I got this copy on vacation like several years ago, and it had this Netflix sticker on it. I was trying to get it off, but I couldn't, so please ignore that. I'll just show it to you like this. Isn't it so pretty? It's got gold foiling, and the beautiful spine. This is a great version of it. Once I saw this copy, I was like, yeah, I gotta have it. It's a Puffin edition, Puffin in Bloom. So anyway, just wanted to show that. I read it on audio though, but I am glad that I have the physical copy. Next up, I read the last book in a series by Eva Lee that I was working through. This is A Rogue's Rules for Seduction. And this one I gave 3.5 stars. It is a second chance romance. It was set at a house party, I think in Scotland. So it was fun. I did enjoy it. I have to be in like the mood to read historical romance, and I am not the type that reads it like back to back every single, like I finish one, I want to pick up another. But I do like it every now and again, and I was kind of in the mood for picking up a historical romance, and so it just kind of fit with what I was looking for at that time. And I do like second chance romance in general, so it was overall a good read. The last book in May that I read was Every Summer After by Carley Fortune. This is the second book by Carley Fortune that I've read. I read This Summer Will Be Different last summer and really enjoyed it, gave it 4 stars. This book was Carley's debut, and a lot of people talked about it, and I was excited to read it, and I was loving it until like 80% through. And then I was like, what is actually going on in this book? And absolutely hated what happened at the end. So I ended up giving this book, this is a complicated star rating for me, because I did give the book 4 stars, because up until the very end, it was a 5-star book for me. So I didn't want to knock it down too much. But I also like had a really big problem with what happened at the end of the book. And so I have like very conflicted feelings about it. I did pick up One Golden Summer, which is kind of like a sister novel to Every Summer After. It's not quite a sequel, but it's in that same world. And I heard that it was good if you wanted like a little bit more closure about what happens at the end of the first book. And I tried to read it, you guys, but I could not, because one of the characters who I have issue with in the first book is the main character in the One Golden Summer, and I just couldn't get past his personality, which is unfortunate because I really did like him up until this thing happens in the first book. So anyway, I won't know what happened because I don't care enough to know what happened. And I think this tells me that Carley Fortune is just not going to be an author for me. That maybe Every Summer Will Be Different that I read last year was just kind of a fluke, because now that I've read 3 of her books, I've only really liked one of them. So, which is unfortunate because I kind of thought that she would be like a new favorite author, because a lot of people say like if you like Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez, you'll like Carley Fortune, but just not me, I guess, not me. And I do have 2 DNFs for the month of May. First one is Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. You can even see my bookmark where I literally gave up, what is that, like halfway through? You guys, I actually looked up spoilers online about this book because part of me wanted to know what the heck happened. The other part of me was like, I cannot with these characters anymore for another 150 pages, 200 pages. I can't do it. From what I read of the spoilers, would have hated it if I had read it. So this book was not for me, which is very unfortunate because this book was on my radar. It's a historical fiction, saying it was like a love story, but it was really just about this insufferable female main character who literally makes horrible choices, and I don't like her. And I don't like unlikable characters. Some people can get behind unlikable characters and enjoy the book. I personally have a very hard time with that. I can maybe see why people would think the book was like thought-provoking, but it just wasn't for me. I like books that are just not this dramatic and not this problematic. So this was a DNF for me. I don't rate my DNFs, but if I had read this book, the rating would not have been favorable. So unfortunately, this one did not land for me. If it worked for you, I'm very glad. Not every book is for every reader, but this book was definitely not for me. And then my next DNF was another Book of the Month Club pick. Very unfortunate, but it was Passion Project by London Sperry. This one I got about a fourth of the way through. I didn't dislike it. I just had a very hard time liking the female main character. This book reminded me a lot of Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone, which I did not like. I gave that one 2 stars, maybe 2.5 stars. I wanted to like it, but I just didn't see the romance, and I really thought that the female main character was not the best. I wouldn't say she was unlikable, but she just didn't hit for me, and I was getting kind of very similar vibes from this female main character. And I was also having the same issue with Promise Me Sunshine of I don't really see the love connection between these two. Like, I think that they were like too mean to each other. I don't know. I don't know if it's just like the way romance books are being written now. I don't like when the 2 main people don't seem like they're kind of mean to each other. Like, there's enemies to lovers, and then there's like whatever the heck that is. So it's just not for me. Again, I did not hate this book. I didn't dislike it as much as the last book. It just wasn't really what I was looking for, and decided that I would just stop reading it. So I don't even think I'll come back to it, honestly, but I do like the cover. The cover is really pretty. So there's that. That's a good thing about it. To summarize May, I read 5 books, DNF'd 2, read 4 from Libby on my Kindle, so 4 ebooks, and I read 1 audio and 2 physical. Ironically, the 2 physical were the ones that I DNF'd. Now let's talk about June. So June was another good reading month, but surprising to me, I only read audiobooks in June, which is unusual. So I have just really discovered that I like reading on audio. I didn't go into the month intending to just primarily read on audio, but with how crazy my month was, it just was the medium that worked best for me. I did physically read 2 books, but I did not finish them in the month of June, so I can't count them towards my June wrap up. But I read 5 books in June, so 10 in total between May and June. This month, in the month of June, I did the Armchair Travel Book Club with B at Mama Needs to Read Romance, and we traveled throughout the Mediterranean. So I had never done something like that before. I had never picked out my reads based upon a region and really stuck with that list. So it really worked for me. I really, really enjoyed it, and it gave me like some structure, and it also gave me something fun to look forward to and to do every week in the midst of the craziness that was going on. So the first book that I read is The Island Villa by Sarah Morgan. And Sarah Morgan this is the second book that I've read by her, and you guys, she is moving to the top of the list of my favorite authors. I really enjoy her books. I have a plan to go through her backlist, and this one I really liked. I gave it 4 stars. I tried to read a different not Greek book, but a book set in Greece first, and it was Greek Secret by Francesca Catlow. This was a DNF for me. I didn't dislike it. I just was kind of bored. I don't know if it was me or if it was the book, but it just wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So then I switched to The Island Villa instead, because I think my Libby had it available. And this was just a really great story. It was a women's fiction and a romance. I mean, I think that's what Sarah Morgan's kind of known for, is those 2 elements combined in a book. And it was about this family, so a mom and a divorced dad, and their 2 daughters, and how their lives intersect at this villa in Greece. It was engaging. It held my attention. There was a little bit of like, there wasn't really a mystery, but I don't know, like women's fiction sometimes kind of has that like hidden secret in it. And I think that that really can move the story forward. And I did find that to be true in this book. And so I enjoyed it. Next up, I tried to read Is She Really Going Out With Him by Sophie Cousins. This one, sadly, was a DNF for me. This is unrelated to the Mediterranean book club that I was doing, because this one is set like in England or Australia or something, like completely random. But this one just wasn't hitting for me, and which is unfortunate because I have read 2 Sophie Cousin books before and enjoyed them. So I don't know what it was about this book. Again, I just had trouble connecting the 2, like seeing the connection between the 2 main characters, which as you can see is kind of a pain point for me. Like if I can't see the connection between the 2 main characters, I'm probably going to DNF the book, because I'm just not invested and I don't care enough to continue reading and see what happens. to continue on the Mediterranean cruise that we did, we went to Italy, and I read One Italian Summer by Rebecca Serle. This book I gave 3.75 stars. This was a surprising book. I read it on audio. Like I said, I read all of these books on audio, and Lauren Graham narrates this book. I thought she did a really good job. I really enjoyed her narration. And this one was interesting. It's kind of, I would say, like the magical realism element in the book. And it's set in Positano, Italy. And it's about this female main character whose mother passes away and her grief, and how she ends up going on this trip that they had planned to go on together to this resort in Positano, and her experience there. But there is kind of like a little bit of a twist, and it was really enjoyable. Like the staff at the hotel resort, the people that she met while she was there, all kind of helped her and work through her grief, work through her marriage, because I think her and her husband were kind of like rocky when she left for the trip. And it was good. I think the ending wrapped up like it was almost a little too abrupt and wrapped up a little too quickly for me, based upon the flow of the rest of the book, but I did still enjoy it. And it was very atmospheric. I will say that about all of the books that I read that were set in the Mediterranean, is they were all very atmospheric, and that was perfect, right? Because I was supposed to travel through my book, and I don't know if I just picked really good books for that, but it was a lot of fun to read. After we went to Italy, we went to France, and I picked up Meet Me in Monaco. This is a historical fiction by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. And I was so pleasantly surprised with how much I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. This book is about, I was gonna say Katharine Hepburn. It's not Katharine Hepburn. What's her name? It's about Grace Kelly. The story is about Grace Kelly and how Grace Kelly, her trip to Monaco, and where she meets Prince Rainier, which is like in real life, that was her husband, how that played out in these 2 fictional characters' lives. And it was just really well done. I don't even know how to like summarize it because it was so good. But the female main character owns a perfumery that it's like her father's business. And her father dies. Does he die in the war? I think he dies in World War II. And so it's passed down to her, and her mother is an alcoholic mother, and she doesn't have a great relationship with her. And so she really spends a lot of her time working because she's really passionate about what she does at the perfumery. And so it was just so interesting to like hear about how she puts perfumes together, her business sense, like what she wants to do with the shop, and how Grace Kelly plays into that, and her marriage. And so it kind of goes through that entire year of when Grace Kelly comes and visits to the time that she gets married, and then in the future it goes to her death. And it was just really well done. The male main character is a photographer, like basically like a paparazzi. They call him like a photojournalist, and he struggles with, what he has to do for a living. He has scars from war. He has like PTSD, and he came home and actually ends up getting divorced from his wife because of the PTSD, and he has a daughter, and he's from England, and the female main character is obviously French because she's, in Monaco. And it was just a great story about their connection, their lives, how Grace Kelly intertwines their friendship. I would really recommend this one. It was really well narrated too. So if you are an audiobook reader, I think that you would enjoy the audiobook narration. Lastly, we went to Spain to wrap up our Mediterranean trip. At first, I started Retreat to the Spanish Sun by Jo Thompson. Sadly, this was a DNF for me. I moved on to 1 year ago in Spain by Evelyn Skye. And this one was a little disappointing. I did give it 3 stars, but I think the book had a lot more promise in the beginning, and I didn't love how the story panned out. But the story is about, it's a romance, a love story. It's about Mateo, and I forget the female main character's name, but Mateo is from Madrid, and he comes to New York City, I think, to like become a professor, like at a art college essentially. And they meet in New York, and they end up dating for a year, and then they're planning to go back to Madrid so he can introduce her to his family. And she kind of gets cold feet and doesn't want to go, and she's like really involved in her work. She's like a lawyer, and so she doesn't go. And then like tragedy strikes when they're on the trip in Madrid, and she's still back home, so then she has to fly over to Madrid. And it's basically about how she's in Madrid caring for him at the hospital, but she can somehow see his soul, and she interacts with his soul while he is still in the hospital. So a lot of magical realism. It had a lot of potential, but I didn't love the way that the story panned out, and the way that it was written. But it did have good parts to it. Mateo was super dreamy. He was just like a really well-written male main character. But maybe I just didn't like the female main character that much. And some of the tension points, I feel like it was a little too much tension, didn't wrap up super well. So yeah, it was a 3-star for me. It was good, but it wasn't great. I had some issues with it, but was fairly atmospheric, which was the point of the challenge. So that's good. And then the last book that I read was the 3rd book in the A Secret Bookcase mystery series by Ellie Alexander. It was Death at the Dinner Party. This is set in fall, so it was kind of like a spooky season, cozy mystery. And I gave this one 3 stars. It was not my favorite in the series, but it was still good. I really do enjoy that series a lot. And I only have 1 more book to go. So I hopefully, when I do my July reading wrap up, will be able to tell you about the subsequent 3 books that I will have read by that point in the series, because I will plan to finish off the series in July. And then lastly, it was my DNF, my last DNF for the month of June, which was One Golden Summer by Carley Fortune. So I kind of already talked about this a little bit when I was talking about Every Summer After, but I really wanted to like One Golden Summer to kind of make up for what I didn't like in Every Summer After, but I just had major issues with how the male main character was written in One Golden Summer. That male main character is the brother from Every Summer After, and I liked him more in Every Summer After, despite the issue that happens at the end of the book. I just felt like she wrote 2 different characters. Like, why was he acting the way that he was acting in One Golden Summer? And why was he giving me so many red flags? Like, why was he giving me so many red flags when everybody else was talking about how much they love Charlie? And I'm just like, Charlie? Are we talking about the same person? Because I don't see it. So yeah, it just sadly didn't work for me. So it was a DNF. So to recap June, I read 5 books in June, all on audio, and 3 DNFs. My DNFs were 2 audio, 1 physical book. One Golden Summer was a physical book that I got from my library. So that's it, you guys. Woo! What a time. Doing 2 months worth of wrap-ups in one video, it's a lot of talking. So thanks for hanging out with me, and let me know if you had a favorite book from the months of May and June. I am so excited to be back chatting with you all, filming for you all. It is a lot of fun, and I really did miss it last month. So I hope to see you soon. In the meantime, I hope you're reading a really good book, and I will talk with you later. Bye.